Clare Gerard and I'm a painter. I moved in January, so I've never had a studio outside my home. This is the first time I have. And it's been more helpful than I could have anticipated. It's like a signal to me that it's time to shift gears from my home life to studio life, and that's been a really interesting process to learn more about that. One of the things I've done since I've been here is I started this series of scraps they were just small paintings on scraps of canvas. It started out as just something to do with the leftover canvas when I was finished stretching my canvas, and so but it's become really helpful to me to really simplify my work, because a lot of my paintings have a lot going on, and this way I could just pick a color, do a wash, do a couple lines, and really like minimize it. And then when I hung them all together, I really was able to step back and look at it and get some ideas for my other bigger work.
It's like your research.
My research, yeah. My favorite thing is to begin on a large canvas, so I really care a lot about how I prepare the surface. So I start with washes of color, maybe some charcoal, dust, get that in there, and I try to make a really beautiful surface. And then I go over it with heavy black lines, charcoal, followed by paint, and then kind of see where it leads from there. I felt really blocked from March to like June or July, and I haven't experienced that since. It was the first time in like 20 years that I just didn't have any spark, and it was just overwhelming. And I had my kids' school, they didn't go back the next day. I have 3 kids at home, so I just had to keep it going at home for them, and I couldn't think about anything but that. And it wasn't even on the radar, and that was a weird experience, because it really hadn't happened in 20 years that I had felt like no impulse to make something. Finally, it was like, I'm gonna make something, and I just looked around my house and I found a little bottle of ink, I found some masking tape, paper, and just put it down, and it didn't feel like anything. And then like a month or so later, I signed up for a printmaking class, a monotype printmaking class on Zoom, and I didn't expect anything of it, but I ended up loving this class. And by the end, for our final series that we were supposed to make, I pulled out those little masking tape and ink drawings, and then I ended up using them in this final project and added the printmaking process over them. Do you want to see? So this is the one that I had started just by putting masking tape in lines on this piece of paper, and then here I'd taken a little ink and just done a little something. And they weren't really I didn't think they were going anywhere. And I was feeling a little stuck, and I saw them and I grabbed them and I added some of the printmaking techniques on top, and then I felt like they really showed my idea, and like the really crisp white line on this one cutting through helped to express that idea of simplicity of thought coming through in a time of chaos. I ended up calling the series Cutting Through the Noise, because I wanted to express the idea of a simple thought coming through despite everything going on in the world right now. I moved to the Northeast following Hurricane Katrina. What was weird about going through Hurricane Katrina was that I, even at the time, had an awareness that no one in the rest of the country could really comprehend what it was like when you were there and you'd gone into an apartment that had been flooded and saw, or gone through a neighborhood that was just gone. This is so different because we're all going through it together. We're all experiencing this, and we all understand how hard it is. It's hard to see it at the time. I can see it better with reflection. So that's why I think I can speak more clearly about my experience in Hurricane Katrina than I can speak about the experience we're going through right now. So I find that it's similar with my work, where while I'm making it, I have trouble expressing it, and then I am able to work out some of the emotion on the surface and identify it. Sometimes in the moment, but often later. There was something about switching to a completely different medium where I could translate my ideas to these monotype prints that was very confidence building for me. And this one, everybody who's looked at it noticed that I put a mask in, which I did not intend. This was the final one from that series of the Chaos to Calm series that I was talking about, where I started with a lot more happening and a lot more clutter, and then at the end of the series I did this that was a little more uplifting, maybe. I'm in the middle of a transition. I feel like that a lot, but I do feel like I'm making a shift from like this painting behind you, where I made that one right after I moved in here. I call it passing thoughts. It's a little idea here, a little idea here, a little here, and I'm hoping to take those smaller ideas and make them into a bigger idea, a bigger form, a bigger shape. I hope that I can combine some of the ideas I've developed with these studies of creating larger shapes and larger forms. I was able to do that in the printmaking process, and so that's what I'm hoping to do in the next series I'm making. I think it's hard for artists to feel like their work is important when, I felt like it was hard to feel like my own personal story was important when such a big thing was happening in our world. And I still feel like that about myself, but I can look at the friends I've made in the building and see what they're doing at home with very few materials, like Sharpies on paper and setting up a little place to spray paint outside at home like a friend of mine is doing. And so I see like that they're finding the light, like finding something, their own creative spark in this really hard time, and that inspires me, seeing what other people are making. I came in to paint over I make the wall white again, and I had a canvas that wasn't really working, and so I ended up just rolling over it with wall paint, which I wasn't planning. And then just today, I started working into what I had painted over, and I was inspired by the black radiator, the line. I always love like repeating lines, and so as I took the picture, I saw the radiator and I knew it needed something, so I came in with the black charcoal over here, which I then ended up going over with white paint. Yes, I like to work on multiples at once because I feel like it keeps me moving and doesn't, so that I don't get stuck. Then I thought this one was finished, but I just ended up adding those black coils, which I think I like, yeah. But I definitely like to repeat ideas but keep it moving around. So this is my first Open Studios. And it's not how I imagined, but I do think it's important to bring light and creativity and express it even when it's hard. And I think it shows the spirit of people too.